Let's drop any pretense. F-Zero GX is awesome. It's probably my favourite racing game ever made, and I've played at least 2 of them. Its sense of speed is unmatched, but in my opinion, that alone isn't what makes the game unparalleled. In this video, I'm going to discuss the elements that set F-Zero GX apart, as well as critiquing the places where I think it nosedives straight into Big Blue. My name's Lord Sparrow, subscribe to become happy, and without further ado, let's dive into the far future, where the races are fast, the crashes are fatal, and the trousers are optional. So a quick summary. F-Zero GX is a futuristic arcade racer where up to 30 racers compete to become the champion. You're put in control of a machine, essentially a hover car that's capable of defying gravity. Alpha Bar would love them. Every race has 3 laps, and you have to get to the end of the race without flying straight off the course. If you do crash, there isn't a Lakitu to retrieve you. You're permanently disqualified from the race. The announcer declares that you've retired, which is an interesting word to describe what just happened. That's a bit like calling a morgue a retirement home. 30 racers may seem like a lot, but the machines are actually really small compared to the width of the track. Even on the narrowest sections, there's normally still room for you to pass your opponents. The courses needed to be this large to facilitate the speeds that you're driving at, but they would feel empty if the racer count was a more typical 8 to 12 racers. Having 30 racers makes the courses feel tighter, and also allows for epic moments where your position changes by 20 racers in under a second. For me, the defining mechanic of GX can be seen in the top right corner. You have an energy meter, which essentially acts like your health. Colliding with stuff or getting attacked by enemy vehicles lowers the bar. If the bar hits 0 and you take another hit, then you will explode, forcing another trip to the retirement home. In lap 1 that sounds simple, but when you hit lap 2 you get boost power! Activating boost gives you a burst of speed, and given how it's not uncommon for racers to finish within literal milliseconds of each other, a well-timed boost can mean the difference between 1st and 10th place. There's a catch, however. Every time you boost, your energy meter drains, making your machine more vulnerable, so you have to boost sparingly, right? Wrong. You can't play it safe and not boost much, because that will guarantee a bottom place finish. You have to boost to get ahead, and on higher difficulties, you have to do so as frequently as you can get away with. Each subsequent boost increases the potential reward, but also adds more risk as you use more and more energy. The term risk versus reward is used a lot when discussing game design, but I don't think the term fully applies here. Risk versus reward implies that there's a safe option that you can still win the game with, but in F-Zero GX the safe option doesn't exist. Every reward the game offers requires you to enter a state of risk. Even when you decide to conserve your energy, you still risk losing positions and falling further behind first place. As such, I think it's more accurate to say that reward requires risk, and I think this idea can be seen in many of GX's design decisions. This risk-centric design is one of the core reasons why F-Zero GX is my favourite racing game. So if you run low on energy, how do you get it back? It's a question I ask a lot in therapy, but for F-Zero GX there are 2 ways. The main way is to drive over these purple refill pads, which gradually restore your energy and remove the energy cost for boosting while you're upon them. The amount of refill pads and the distance between them varies from course to course. Some have the refill pads appear frequently, whereas others have a single pad at the end of the lap. This alone is enough to affect how you approach each course, and does an excellent job of making the courses feel distinct. Driving on these refill pads is the safest you will be in F-Zero, but even they come with a degree of risk. Almost every racer will be competing for space, and sometimes things can get violent. Another racer can knock you out of the refill pad, limiting the amount of energy you get and the boosting you can do. The results of this can be catastrophic. The second way you get energy back is by taking out other racers with your attack, which permanently removes them from the race. You have 2 offensive options, a devastating side swipe which smashes your car into another, or a spin attack which can hit multiple opponents but does less damage. Each KO refills a small amount of energy, and getting 5 knockouts in a single race will give you an extra life in Grand Prix mode. Predictably, this also comes with risks. You only get the energy reward if you KO an opponent. Dealing damage without a KO KO gets you nothing. Which brings me to my first small critique of the game. The spin attack isn't very useful because it rarely does enough damage to KO an opponent and slows you down a lot. It's one of the few times the reward just isn't worth the risk. The sideswipe is really cool though. The tracks often incorporate risk into their design. Half-pipe and serial gaps are two great examples. At first they appear overwhelming. It takes all of your effort just to stay on the course. But as you get better, you learn there's some crazy aerial shortcuts you can pull off by flying off the road, making victory significantly easier to grasp. Those are major examples, but there are lots of other smaller instances of risks being incorporated into the design of the tracks. Ordeal has this section where you fly from one section of the course to another. The further you fly, the faster you'll be, but you're also more likely to miss the track entirely. Intersection has this part where the track intersects with itself, creating two small lanes to drive through. One of these lanes has a boost pad, the other doesn't. Precise control is necessary in this section to avoid colliding with the intersecting track, but the boost pads will make it harder to maintain control. So do you risk taking the boost pad? The answer is yes. Obviously, you want to win, but doing so is always a risk. The combination of everything I've talked about creates a very specific feeling, a feeling that you're constantly pushing everything to the limit, that at any time you are one mistake away from losing everything. It's exhilarating, and this exhilaration is what makes F-Zero fun. There's much more to it than just driving really fast. If the game lessened the emphasis on risk, then it would dampen this feeling, and in doing so, remove a key part of F-Zero GX's identity. But the mechanics aren't the only thing that F-Zero GX excels at. Its presentation is frankly superb. Now, I do have to state at this moment that I do own the game on GameCube, and if Nintendo's lawyers are watching, I definitely captured the footage for this video on the original hardware. Please ignore the footage playing in the background, it's irrelevant and I don't know how it got here. Even if I did emulate the game to make capturing footage easier for this video, the visuals for the tracks on GameCube are still gorgeous and hold up today. From the dense forestry of green plants to the various creatures of Sand Ocean, the vibrant backgrounds do a lot to enhance the vibes of the course you're currently racing on. More importantly, however, is that this game has a large character roster, 41 characters, each with a unique vehicle, backstory, and even a theme song. And some of these themes are full-on vocal tracks. You know, I'm not normally into Christian rock, but I make an exception for the Captain Falcon theme song. I love the variety. There are bounty hunters, evil crime lords, superheroes, a buff Patrick Stewart. There's something for everyone. A lot of futuristic racers have you play as a generic pilot, presumably meant to fulfill the role of a self-insert. This is fine, but it's one thing to have your rival be a faceless nobody, and another thing entirely to have it be the mighty Gazelle, a dude whose body was significantly damaged in a massive crash 4 years ago, survived without the skin of his teeth, and had to be made into a cyborg. He then uses this miracle of medicine for nothing but racing. I'm sorry, but generic Pilot B just doesn't compare. Having actual characters adds a subtle narrative element to every race. For example, if Leon wins the GP, he'll use the prize money to help reinvigorate his war-torn homeworld. Every time you disqualify him, not only does his dreams die, but also the hope of his entire people. Sleep easy. If you win a Grand Prix on Master difficulty, then you unlock a short film for the character you run with. These films are mostly surreal goofs, which is fine, but I think there's a missed opportunity for these to be payoffs to the character's backstory. So for example, Captain Falcon would capture and arrest Black Shadow, Leon would invest in his homeworld, Deathborn would cackle maniacally as he literally destroys the entire universe. This is an improvement I would love to see in the inevitable sequel. The inevitable sequel. The inevitable sequel. The game's character extends beyond the characters and to the Grand Prix itself. Now, GPs in F-Zero are very intense. The feeling of pushing everything to the limit is extended over the course of 5 races, where performance in prior races has lasting consequences on the rest of the Cup. The first course of the Sapphire Cup is Drift Highway, which I think is low-key one of the hardest courses in the game to place highly on. I finish in 13th place, whilst the mighty Gazelle comes first. I place first in the next race, but Mr. Gazelle comes second, so I'm still 49 points behind. There's only one course of action open to me if I'm to have any chance of winning. I'm going to have to Cobra Kai his ass and disqualify him from the next race. I see him in front of me. I line up the shot, go for the attack, and to top it off, I fail to properly refill my energy bar in lap 2, whilst the mighty gazelle storms into first. I push myself to the limit, draining all my energy just to keep up. But then Biorex, a dinosaur man genetically engineered for racing, boosts into me and sends me flying off the course. Thus ended my hopes of winning the Sapphire Cup. Except not quite, for in GP mode you can restart the race at the cost of one of your lives. I'm playing on Master difficulty, which only gives me one spare life, so this time it really is make it or break it. We turn the first corner and I trace his movements through the pack. After the first refill pad we clear some space and I see my opportunity. I go for the attack, but it's just a glancing blow, not enough to knock him out. We start the second lap and he boosts past me. I boost to catch up, and as I do so I knock out his vehicle. Somehow. Honestly, I'm surprised I hit him. The mighty gazelle places 30th while I come 3rd, enough to guarantee that he won't be a problem again. I go on to win that Grand Prix, but not before almost losing everything to Phoenix the time-travelling cop because I crashed headfirst into a steel pipe. Every Grand Prix has moments like this, leading to each GP being a mini-story told over the course of 5 races. If I was being pretentious, I would compare it to the 5 acts of a traditional Shakespearean play, but I'm not a good video essayist, so I won't. The framing device of the Grand Prix mode is F-Zero TV, an in-universe broadcasting company dedicating to covering, and you'll never guess this, the F-Zero Grand Prix. I imagine these course introductions being identical to what gets shown to the public. More importantly though, if you win a Grand Prix, your character gets interviewed by Bargain Basement Joker here. The GP mode is very intense, but I think the post-race interview is a denouement, a way of releasing the tension built up over the course of the Grand Prix. It allows for a moment of calm and relaxation before diving headfirst into the next GP. It's a small thing, but I genuinely think the game's pacing would be weaker without it. The game isn't perfect though, and the biggest flaw is that the listed performance stats of the machines are just wrong. For some reason they're incorrect. GX is a difficult game to pick up if you've never played it before, and I pity the poor soul who first played the game with the Wild Goose because it was listed with an ABC stat line, even though it's actually one of the worst vehicles in the game. I hope nobody was prevented from becoming a fan of F-Zero because of this. There are times where it's alright for game developers to lie to the player. Vehicle stats should never be one of them. The game has a story mode comprising of 9 missions that have you doing different objectives, such as racing Samurai Goro whilst avoiding falling rocks, or having to navigate a very long road without dropping below a certain speed. The actual story mode is fine. The narrative is nonsensical, which is a bit disappointing, but I know a lot of people think it has a surreal charm, so I'm going to reserve judgment. My big issue is that 9 of the playable characters are locked behind completing each of the 9 story missions on very hard difficulty. Some of these missions are already pretty difficult on normal, and a lot of them are incredibly difficult on very hard. And before anyone in the comments says get good, note that I am not saying that the very hard missions should be made easier. I think that the high level of challenge is great for the players who want it, but I think the reward for beating them should be something like new music to play during GP mode, a cool reward that isn't as game altering as a whole new series of characters. And anyway, you probably noticed that I currently have every character unlocked. This is because I am in fact very good at downloading completed save files from GameFAQs. Also, I know that you can unlock these characters by inserting your GameCube memory card into an F-Zero AX arcade machine, which was an arcade spin-off title that released shortly after GX did. But good luck finding one of those in the wild today if you live outside of Moscow. Seriously, for some reason there's 8 F-Zero AX machines in Moscow, which is the highest concentration of them anywhere in the world. For comparison, there were 4 in Tokyo and 12 in the entirety of the United States, at least according to this Google Maps someone made, which I'm going to presume is accurate because it is funnier if it is. Anyway, AI rubber banding on master difficulty is normally pretty well done. If you don't know, rubber banding is the name given to the technique of having AI-controlled vehicles either slow down or speed up to keep up with the player. In F-Zero, the AI rubber band as a group. It's not uncommon for a CPU to finish first in one race and get a middling position in the next one. This makes races feel more natural and allows for a player to finish a single race in 20th place and still win the overall Grand Prix. However, there are a couple of tracks tracks where I think the AI are too strong. Phantom Road is infamous. I struggle to finish higher than 29th place. And the other track I noticed this on is Drift Highway. Maybe I just suck, but I think the AI is overtuned for those tracks. Conversely, I think the AI could be buffed on undulation. It's not uncommon to finish the race and find out that 5 to 10 racers have fallen off the track. For most of the tracks though, the AI is pretty well balanced. My only other critique is a small one. Practice mode allows you to play single races, customizing the number of laps and the amount of races on the course. However, practice mode unlocks boost powers when the race begins, instead of on lap 2. This means that you will run the race differently to how you would run it in Grand Prix mode, defeating the points of a practice mode. I think adding an option that allows you to decide on which lap you get boost power would have solved this issue. Before concluding this video, I briefly want to give advice to anyone trying to play this game for the first time or trying to get a friend into this game. My first advice is to ignore online tier lists for the machines. When you're just starting out, they don't matter. What matters is finding a machine that handles well for you, even if that vehicle is otherwise terrible. This is because it's far easier to understand what's going on if you feel in control of your vehicle. There's 41 of them, they all handle differently, so it's going to take some experimentation. Apparently, the best vehicles in the game are the Fat Shark and the Black Bull, but I don't use them because I think their handling is as tight as Zoda's pants. Next up, hop into practice mode, set it to free run with 0 CPUs, and then play Twist Road. It's an excellent course to get you used to controlling your machine. When you watch someone else play, the game looks uncontrollably fast, but this will quickly teach you that it's far easier than it looks to play this game. Keep doing laps and aim to consistently get lap times under 25 seconds. Once you've done this, do some practice races against novice CPUs and then take it from there. I've tried this method with a few friends and it helped them to enjoy the game, or at least not be completely overwhelmed by it. And that is F-Zero GX. There's things I haven't touched on, like the custom vehicles and the crazy advanced techniques, but I think we're at a point where we all understand why I love this game. The mechanics are tight and the racing is fast, but it's the risk-centric design and sense of character that makes GX so thrilling. If either of these were weaker, then you would still have a good racing game, but I doubt you would have one of the greatest racing games ever made. I'm yet to see a spiritual successor to F-Zero that gets that balance right, though I admit I haven't played a lot of them, so if there is one that does this, let me know in the comments below. I implore everyone to give F-Zero GX a go if you can. Not all of you will like it, but some of you will discover a racing game like no other, mostly because Nintendo hasn't given us a proper sequel. God damn it. Welcome back to the post-video ramble. As the part of the video you all tune out for. First off, apologies if some of the footage stuttered a bit for this video. For whatever reason, OBS struggled to record this game. I don't know if there's a setting I can mess around with somewhere. Hopefully I managed to edit around that, but I don't know that right now. That's a thing for future me to worry about. I do these post-video rambles before the editing, so even that's a lie. Also, this video has been uploaded in 1440p, even though it's a 1080p video. That's because standard YouTube compression makes footage of this game look more grainy than a Saharan sandstorm, but uploading in 1440p forces YouTube to use a better compressor, which prevents this from happening. Please hate the game, not the player. Anyway, I like it when the number goes up, so it would be awesome if you clicked like and subscribe and comment and all that jazz. As for what the next video will be on, a bit like last time, I don't actually know yet. Maybe I'll actually do a video on Death Wish for a Hat in Time? I genuinely don't know. Be sure to stay tuned to find out if I make up my mind or not. Until next time, bye.